Hey YouTube, welcome to the Capcast. If you can do us a big favor and just like this video real quick before we get into it.
Hey,
That'd
you
be
did
awesome.
it. Yeah, you did it. Guess what? Vault Boy, Vault Boy gets to live today. Oh, never mind.
I was not expecting that to happen.
He's good. He's
All right.
good.
All right. Well, we got some cool stuff we're going to get into today. We're going to do a ranking list. We're going to have a little post-apocalyptic debate, a little bit of news, and a Last of Us retrospective. So I'm excited about it.
In terms of retrospective, let me brace
Okay,
y'all.
get specific.
It's not really to be like, oh, let's talk about the show. No, it's really we're talking about video game or live action video game adaptations to already existing media, to just expanding upon video games using TV shows.
Right.
So, which I feel like I after a week has passed, my thoughts, I have built some thoughts, so I really want to share them with y'all.
I'm excited to hear them because I got some thoughts too, and we're gonna let them fly. But should we pop the top in the meantime?
Let's pop the top on our first ever versus. All right. So, yeah, no, you're not ready for this.
No.
Look at you. Do you play zombie games?
I played Dead Island when it came out.
The deal is we have our boy Leon Kennedy is making his grand return in what a lot of people would say the best Resident Evil is Resident Evil 4 Remake. Now, I played the demo. It's pretty dope. You should play it. Just put yourself under pressure, have some fun. It's stressful. You're getting chased by a guy with a chainsaw the whole time. If you play it with headphones, it's extra stressful because you can it sounds like it's right up behind you. That's dope. Really dope. The parry system is fantastic. I am so happy they added that to the game, but that is not what we're here to discuss today. Because Leon Kennedy, a lot of people will swear up and down, Leon Kennedy is the best zombie killer out there. Now, today, I present the first verses in honor of Resident Evil 4 Remake coming out March 24th. Not sponsored, but they could have been. Reach out next time, Capcom. Leon Kennedy versus Frank West. Do you know anything about Frank West?
I don't.
Well, he's covered wars, Okay, that is his titular statement in the game. And you go, what is this big forehead, big nose bozo gonna do in the zombie apocalypse? Let me tell you, he's here to do three things: eat snacks, take pornographic pictures, and reveal the truth. He is dope at all that. And he be killing zombies on an extreme level. Not only can Frank West zombie surf, he can disembowel. He can make concoctions. He mixes up a pie and some orange juice. Boom. Invulnerability, baby. Nothing hurts him. All right? He can, if you walk slow enough, he blends in with the zombies. All right? So, story for Frank West. Let me tell you the odds that this man is against. He gets a phone call one day. Boom. Oh, there's something going down in Willamette, Colorado. Tiny nobody town. Nobody cares about this town. And he's like, all right, well, I got to go get the scoop. He got a connection to a helicopter. What? Shows up. Yeah, crazy little riots happening out in the streets. And he's in there snagging photos, getting PP, prestige points. You need PP. You need to get big PP for that. All right. And he's like, hey, what's going on at that mall? Place is crowded by zombies. But he doesn't know there's zombies. He thinks it's just people going crazy. He jumps out of the helicopter because the military pulls up saying, you shouldn't be here. He runs in, meets a guy named Carlito. Smoothest MF I ever met in my life. Twist, he's a bad guy. Yeah, he's the one responsible for all this. But you don't know that. You know why? Because you're here to find out the truth. And slowly, you get more and more zombies. More and more zombies. if you play it right, oh God, if you play it right, if, I'm not turning into a zombie. Do I look sick to you? If you play it right, you can kill 53,594 zombies in a span of 72 hours within the game time because you also had a time limit to work against.
Whoa.
If you did that, you got the Mega Buster. When it instant kills most people, you want to kill the main boss with it, boom, do it. And the whole thing is you could do this on your first playthrough before ever finding out the truth. This game encourages multiple playthroughs because you level up, you unlock new skills, things that just become nutty. You want to talk about ridiculous game mechanics? If you find a magazine, you suddenly start doing more damage because you have a magazine in your back pocket. It doesn't make any sense. So whenever I think about Leon Kennedy going up against my boy Frank West, I think of a little boy going up against a man who has covered wars. And I mean that with the bottom of my heart. What? Because Leon Kennedy got a little goof juice in him and got him infected. Oh, he a little bad. I love Leon Kennedy, guys. You need to hear me when I say this. I love Leon Kennedy. But when Frank West walks up to Leon Kennedy, puts a hand on his shoulder, and then disembowels him, pulls him back and says, yuck. Verbatim what he does. Nick, I know you've never played it. Mm-hmm. Get on the Xbox. Get on the Xbox. I guarantee you that game's free on Game Pass, or at least $5.
Probably.
It's old.
Yeah.
Frank West stomps. Now, Leon Kennedy against most other zombie game protagonists, I'll give it to Leon Kennedy. But Frank West is the zombie killer. End of the verses.
Wow. I'm honestly impressed. That's some passion you bring to zombie games, honestly.
That's not even scratching the surface. I'd love to come back to the topic at any point later down the road.
Okay,
I mean,
bring it.
I was like, what we got? Let's think about some of the other zombie video game protagonists that are out there. Sorry, my mind is just filled with Franks and West. But I mean, heck, I'd even say Chuck Green. Leon Kennedy beats Chuck Green. I don't care what anyone says. Chuck Green is also from Dead Rising 2. Mm-hmm. Okay. Lee Everett. Unfortunately, he loses to Leon Kennedy. I'll tell you that right off the bat. Chris Redfield, debatable. But he has punched a boulder. Yeah.
All right. Clementine? That's from The Walking Dead?
I would say Leon Kennedy would curb stomp a child like Clementine. Absolutely.
Okay. Chuck Green, did you say that one?
Yeah, Chuck Green. Yep.
Jill Valentine from a Resident Evil game, it looks like.
Now, that's a weakness. Leon Kennedy has a weakness for females. You would see Jill Valentine, and he would get stomped by Jill Valentine. Okay,
let's see. Thomas Rogan.
Thomas Rogan, House of the Dead. Yeah, I was about to say House of the Dead. Depends. Is Thomas Rogan, now we talked about this one time about House of the Dead arcade games. Is Thomas Rogan shooting like this, or is he shooting like that? Because if he's doing that, he might win.
Okay. I mean, it depends on the player then, I guess, on that one. But you're going off of the character alone. So that's kind of a cheat.
Try hard Leon Kennedy versus try hard House of the Dead.
Thomas Rogan.
Yeah. Try hard Leon Kennedy wins.
Okay.
Yeah. Rocket launchers. Infinite rocket launchers. Coach from Left 4 Dead. Man, I like to think that Leon Kennedy would just appreciate Coach enough, but Leon Kennedy would smoke Coach.
See, I'm going to root for Coach just because of the animation videos with all of those characters.
Right here, Dead Space. The necromorphs are zombies.
Let's see. Okay.
I would say Isaac Clarke on a technical scale. If they were in space, Isaac Clarke wins. If they're on Earth, I think Leon Kennedy got this in the bag.
Okay, Leon Kennedy is top ranked in this article that I'm getting all these names from. So I think, I think people are in agreement with you. Let us know what you thought of this rant in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? You
want some more verses? Because I got plenty. Mm-hmm. The Brave preview of something that maybe could come down the road. You want some more of this? How about The Wanderer from Shadow of the Colossus versus Link from Legend of Zelda.
Ooh,
Boom.
interesting.
Okay.
All right.
Anyway, you got some news for us, huh? Start some what?
Yeah, we got some news this week. Shockingly, we got Starfield news. Honestly, I think the day after that you got back from the stuff you were doing and where we met up was when we got the news, which was dang. That was I was not expecting it to go down
We were
that
also
way.
so stupid tired. I don't think we could have. We were so tired. Oh my God.
Yeah. Also, I don't think either of us ate more than like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich that whole 48 hours.
I know. I didn't eat until that morning in LAX.
You barely ate. I felt so bad, but
I was operating off of dreams and adrenaline.
I don't know if you're like me where you can't eat when you're stressed, but that's where I get, you know. I ate a lot of bread. Okay, so we did get some Starfield news. Todd Howard popped on screen with his cute little face, his cute little head, and he was like, "We're doing it for reals this time. It's gonna be in September 6th. Right? September? Yeah, I'm right about that.
Yeah,
Like.
September. Yeah, it got pushed back to September.
Which is not Q2 like we were hoping. We were hoping the first half of the year at that latest Q2. We were wrong. Yeah, so Todd Howard popped on screen. He told us about Starfield while he was talking. Something really interesting happening in the background. They were showing gameplay the entire time. So did we learn a lot from it? No, but we did learn some stuff after the fact. Like that it is going to have a mature 18 rating in Australia. Bethesda and Australia are not friends always, specifically Bethesda Game Studios, the production company that makes Skyrim, Fallout, all that. They got a really strict rating, and the rating is for drug use, which I think is pretty interesting. So that the drug use in the video game is going to be intense and detailed. But that's about it, and that's why the rating is so heavy.
So my whole deal is it got delayed again, right? I don't know, like, okay, I see this a lot, in comments. Well, I'd rather them delay it. And I get it. I'm totally for delaying it. Guys, stop giving me release dates then. Just stop giving me release dates. If you're not confident in what you're about to tell me, stop. Because you know what it does? It brings me back to the time whenever my mom would say, I'm going to make it to your plays, Junior. I'm going to make it to your plays. And she did it. She was like, oh, I'll make it to your next play.
Right.
Nope. You tell me. Shh. Anyway. Yeah, no, so I just think about that. I'm like, you're letting me down. You're building up my height and you're letting me down. Just say, it'll be ready when it's ready. And I think about how many times Cyberpunk got delayed.
And it still came out.
Well, it came out as it did. It came out as it did. And, in that scope, I'm like, I feel like they announced the release date too early. And it's because people are expecting it.
Right.
And I think if they would just, at least originally, if they would just go, okay.
Because it was supposed to be November 2020.
Yeah, it would be like when we have actual gameplay footage that is consistent, then let us set an announce date. Because like I think about like how awesome Hi-Fi Rush was without any kind of marketing to it at all.
Yeah, didn't they announced it the day it came out, right?
Shadow Drop, right? Which I understand because in the vast difference, Tango's not Bethesda. Bethesda's huge. Everyone has a freaking microscope on their IPs.
Right.
So I don't know.
I think a lot of people forget that Bethesda Softworks is the parent company to Bethesda Game Studios, which drops what we know as like Skyrim, all those Bethesda games we think of, but they also have other production companies, Tango Games, all these other companies that are producing games.
Arcane Studios.
Yes.
Which, as a side note, I've because I've been doing like all this research for Arcane Studios and stuff, I'm realizing just how much I really appreciate Arcane Studios. I think Arcane Studios on their own can fill in a lot of the gaps that Bethesda's been missing. you know?
Right. I
Um,
think this whole concept I wanted to bring this up with you or bring this up to you in this segment. Bethesda, the last Bethesda like from BGS that's been released as I under like first the last single player open world has been Fallout 4. It's been 8 years since Fallout 4 came out. Are we going to get what do you think about Bethesda throwing one of those IPs down to one of these other many amazing studios that they got on
I
there?
I think even not even just mainlining those IPs. I think if they even just like some kind of spin-off from those franchises to just get us some more in, just
Yeah,
time
like
with
are,
some
are
of
you
them.
thinking like something like oh what if we do a like a New Vegas kind of thing where it's in the universe but it is a spin-off?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like is something like that, or maybe even have like try a new spin on an already established IP. Maybe we can get a Souls-like version, which I'm not saying is a good idea, but a Souls-like version of an Elder Scrolls game.
Mm-hmm.
Or take the time to maybe go back to some of Fallout's earlier roots and maybe get us another tactical game like an
Yeah.
RTS.
Or
Um,
just gosh, there's so much. My fear is we're gonna have 8 years between each BGS title. But I mean, Todd is 51. He's gonna be 52 in April. Um, Not that that's very old, but when you're that wealthy, you're getting near retirement age. Person like me, not gonna retire. But like I'm getting a little nervous, you know what I mean? And the next one is Elder Scrolls, it's not Fallout. So I was curious what you thought of that. And even in his announcement, he was like, I'm sorry. I want to get these games out to you faster. He said that during this official date release of Starfield. And I was like, dang, even he wants to get these things out. He's like, I want to, pop these puppies out before I'm done, you know?
Yeah, I would honestly say expand on the IPs, which I mean it's very interesting because given our later discussion, but expand on the IPs in different ways that haven't been done before, but leave the mainline entries for Bethesda Game Studios.
How
Like
do you think
or
they rectify this long time period then?
which I think even some of that answer, like which as many people may or may not like, Fallout 76 was kind of an answer
Right.
to that. And
That was made out of Austin though, right? So not the main
yeah, I'm
Maryland
pretty
office.
sure.
Yeah.
Which because I was that's a live service game, and surprisingly enough, most live service games are getting killed off left and right. But Fallout 76, it's still there,
Yeah.
and I think you know I think maybe maybe even ESO, because ESO is also filling that gap for a lot of
Right.
stuff, and not everyone is playing it. Not everyone enjoys MMOs. Um, so I think I think there's just a crowd who wants to be in those settings more often,
Right.
explore more stories, and I think those can be done um, in many different ways. But yeah, I think those can be done in many different ways. Just even beyond outside of doing those mainline games or even video games in general.
Yeah.
Because how many Fallout books do we have? Like official Fallout books?
Books.
Books.
The game guides aren't even technically official.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
not.
So I'm like, give us
I mean, they're
some
not
more of
canon,
that. Really
like looking at them.
like lean into those. Like make a Brotherhood of Steel essential, like almost like someone's journal, and just sell that.
Have
Because
you read All Roads?
uh-uh.
The it came with the collector's edition of New Vegas. I'm like, I think I have it on my shelf right. No, I actually have it framed on my wall. It's a graphic novel that came with Fallout New Vegas. It's non-canon. Um, like even stuff like that, I think fans would really enjoy having. because it's something just to tide you over a little bit. It would be cool if they made it canon, but there is a risk in that. All roads showed horses, which are non-canon
Yeah.
in the Fallout
Which
universe.
and I don't think you have to make any of this canon. Um,
Right.
I
Just
think
do it.
I think a good reference point is Halo, for the most part, because Halo had so many books that spun off of it, and a couple different kind of games that spun off of Halo as well. Um, you had Halo Wars, you had um, Halo Reach, Halo ODST. It told different stories while still keeping that same vibe of the main Halo entries. Um, so I would like to see them try to put that kind of effort into it.
Right.
Maybe it really just kind of like, you know, give us something to eat. Give us something to
Yeah,
go off of.
and more to this news is that even Todd himself was like in an interview not too long ago. It wasn't during this announcement, but he was saying there's way more pressure now because they are under Microsoft to release super clean game releases. And I feel like this timetable between games is not going to shorten. I think it's going to go the opposite direction because of that pressure. Because this is the first game with their Microsoft parent company. So,
Which and this is another thing here. I think about all the people going, "Oh, just play Obsidian's Outer Worlds instead. Just do that
it's
instead."
not.
It's like, guys, it's an apples and oranges kind of thing. And then the people who go, "Well, just why don't you just play No Man's Sky?" And to that, I'm like, what do we know Bethesda for? For
Right.
story driven games, player driven games, and I mean, shoot, Outer Worlds was a fun game, but in my eyes, I didn't play it nearly as much as I played New Vegas, and
I had a
it's
really hard time getting into Outer Worlds, and that's like kind of an unpopular statement to make, but
yeah,
I
and it's
couldn't.
it's like, and nothing against the game, which and I'm sure there's plenty of people who really do enjoy that game. I know for me, I enjoy. I don't know what it is. It's hard to pinpoint, but something about a decent Bethesda game, they do put so much
Yeah.
into the world building, and it's like the little things that we can appreciate. And I think a lot of people will even stand by this in Fallout 76. The world storytelling is there. You
Right.
like, from little details, just how messed up Vault Tech is, and just I know that
It's
stuff is to be expected.
if you're the kind of player who isn't willing to listen to holotapes or read through like computer terminals, you're not going to get that storytelling that normally might have just been talked at you by a character. I know Fallout 76 has added them, but like that, those elements were there from launch,
Mhm.
written in those smaller ways. Obviously, they built on it, but yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think there needs to be ways for us to get more in periods of time, and maybe that's just us being greedy fans. I don't know, but I would like to get more out of these IPs. Like the next Fallout game I'm going to be playing is probably in my mid to late 30s. It's just depressing to think about right now as a 29-year-old. So, um, yeah, I mean, I'm nervous. This announcement was good news. I hope that the launch goes well and Microsoft goes, oh, let's throw some money at them to pump more out, to pump more profit. And then I think the last layer of this announcement is obviously, we've known this for a while, but it's brought this back up for a lot of people. But this is going to be Microsoft and Steam exclusive, or so, Xbox and Steam exclusive, or
Or
PC.
PC,
Right. Could be
which
whatever, but
and then on top of that, free on Game Pass day one. Like, and so, and there's a lot of people going, well, you're just fine. I'm not playing it because you're not doing it on PlayStation. Which I'm gonna say this: if you're one of these people who think that, oh, they're idiots for doing this, they're gonna need that money,
they're
blah blah
not.
blah. They are under Big Daddy Microsoft's teat right now, dude. You think they need
They're
that money
not
on
missing.
Game Pass day one? Are you out of your mind? No offense, but you're delusional. Bethesda was making PC games before they were making console games.
Right. There's been a history of them having issues with with PlayStation in the past, mod support for certain games had delays, DLC for Skyrim. If you're old like me and remember this was part of why I went Xbox, is I was like watching Skyrim and I was like, they had their stuff delayed months after when Xbox got it.
Mhm.
So
And guys, let's be real. PlayStation has always been sticklers. When it came to the mods releasing, they couldn't have any kind of third party whatever. If it cannot be made within the game itself, it could not show up on the mod list for PlayStation at all.
wow.
That's why it was like you had there's so many more options with Xbox. But that's besides the point, because I want to get to this. What is Bethesda's bread and butter that keeps these games going as long as they do without ever releasing a new game? It's the freaking community.
Rabid fans.
Yeah, it's the freaking communities. It is the modders who keep expanding upon already established mods.
I mean,
and
Fallout
ideas.
London comes out this year, so we do at least
Fallout
have that
London.
launch to look forward to.
What, Fallout Nuevo Mexico is another thing happening. That
There's
you have
Miami. There's a lot of projects that
yeah,
are
the
a
whole
long time ongoing.
People are remaking New Vegas in Fallout 4.
People are remaking Fallout 1 and 2 in Fallout
Yeah.
4. Project Arroyo is what that's called.
Sky
there's a
Oblivion,
lot.
Sky Morrowind, Sky More Oblivion, where it combines all of it.
Ooh.
It's just like, oh
I
yeah, I
would play
know
that because I've tried to go back to those older games, and that like 16-bit filter on TikTok right now. I think you made a joke with it as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. Yeah, I did.
That's accurate.
And it's just like the community, and this is all these mods that we're talking about, more than likely PC only.
Mods, I mean, there is
they're so big they cannot be. Yeah, you can't put it on an Xbox. No, you can't put it on a PlayStation if you wanted to. And I'm just saying it. The PC community is what's keeping these games going. That is why Skyrim is on its goddamn 15th
something like that
release. It's probably like its 10th or 8th.
No, I think you might be right. Because there's
really
releases for individual like it came to the Switch, and it came, and then there was the Ultimate Edition that came to everything. There's been a lot. You're not entirely wrong. They also did that joke version for Amazon Alexa,
in which you can actually do, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I say that if you really think that what a missed opportunity, what a missed market to make it exclusive, you are trying to convince yourself that you're not going to miss out.
Right.
Hate to say it to you, there will be people playing Starfield, and they will be having a good time, and you will get curious, and you will either get an Xbox or upgrade your computer finally. Stop. Just upgrade your computer. Stop looking for an excuse not to do it.
And a lot of times the cards are getting a little bit easier to get now.
They are finally. Thank God.
So, and you know what? Like, I just bought a PlayStation 5 for my husband. He's playing it right next to me right now. For Christmas, because we were like, dang, I want to play Last of Us, finally, stuff like that. So if we're doing it on our side, people will do it. People are going to buy Xboxes just to play certain games. As much as people want to believe that is not, they're going to lose out on money. Guys, it's going to happen. People are going to do it. And if you are ever worried about them losing out on money because PlayStation is not in their repertoire anymore, just Google Bill Gates net worth. They're going to be fine. Like,
seriously.
It's Microsoft. Yeah, so that's all I had for the news, because I do think it has implications for a lot of different things. And hopefully we don't get it restricted in Australia. We've seen other Bethesda titles get restricted in Australia, very strict for games for whatever reason.
Which is interesting.
The whole reason that MedX is not morphine is because of game restrictions like that. So it was morphine originally. They had to change the name. So
that's wow.
Yeah. But that's all I had for that segment. I think we're up to our next segment. Do you want to give us a little rundown of that?
Is it time for a debate?
I think so.
Okay. So let me see. In gaming, there are important points that are often made. Some points that are vastly debated often. Sometimes not thought upon enough. Today, we will be talking about one of the less thought upon opinions, maybe.
I think so.
Maybe you've never thought about this. Education in Fallout. Is school important when the world is in waste? We have not decided who is for and who is against a typical school system yet, but we will decide that now.
Okay.
Coke side, Naiwal.
I'll just have you call it.
Okay.
And then you could pick if you want, or if you want a certain thing. Okay.
Yeah, Tails.
That is Tails.
Okay. All right.
So I think that puts you in the negative? In the no?
Yeah.
No school? All right.
Yeah.
So you are debating for no school, and I am debating for school. Is that correct?
You will not be debating Naiwal.
Oh, I will be debating Reginald Baxter the
Reginald Baxter the fifth.
Fifth, sorry. My bad. I thought you were your son.
I see where that school got you. So we will be going by normal debate rules. So we'll have a 2-minute argument I will have a 2-minute rebuttal. Then I will have a 2-minute argument.
Okay.
Nikki will have a 2-minute rebuttal, and then we will have our closing statements, which will be a minute each. Here, let me let me get the timer.
All right.
Online timer. I will be keeping an eye on you.
Okay. I got one going too.
Are you ready?
I am.
Begin.
All right. So I think that education is a very broad term when we look at it. Education could come in many forms. You can have a technical education. You can have a book education. There's so many different things that education means. So if we take that into the context of the wasteland and we say, is education important in the apocalypse? I would argue yes. Education has many forms. If we're going to go into and look at certain schools and certain methods, military school, what are you going to learn there? You're going to learn how to build weapons. You're going to learn strategy. You're going to learn how to communicate effectively. You're going to learn how to do what you need to do to survive in a given context. And in the context of military school, that's going to be in military operations. Super important. I don't think there's any way around that not being important. Now, there's other types of skills that you're going to need in the wasteland. Look at the followers of the apocalypse in Fallout New Vegas. They have a very strong importance on medicine, on science. Who is going to be doing your surgery in the wasteland, if not for education that they receive there? I'm telling you, you do not want someone whose education is from reading one book once, as opposed to somebody who has been trained for years through a formalized education system to do complicated surgeries, to get things done like that, to be able to effectively heal someone. Two different types of education. Now, if you want to get even more technical, the Brotherhood of Steel has different forms of education. Now, this is beyond the ethics of the Brotherhood of Steel. Yes, they hoard technology, they hoard information, but they still do provide an adequate education in learning how to use their weapons, their systems, their technology to do things like purify water.
Stop,
and that is why.
Stop. Enough. I've heard enough.
All right, Reginald. Time yourself. Honor system on that one.
Perhaps you should check my honor.
Okay.
Because much like the wasteland, I am cruel.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you, I'm going to count you down from 3, 2.
While little Jimmy is in school, I want you to think about this. While little Jimmy is in school, learning his math, learning his biologies in order to potentially become a doctor, Tommy is out there doing it. Do you know why? Because his daddy just got bit by a goddamn mole rat. And what does he need Tommy to go do? Well, I need you to go find the disease cure. Well, how do you find a disease cure? You have to scavenge. And do you know why Tommy knows how to scavenge? It's because he's living out there and he's not inside of a schoolhouse. So he knows where to find disease cure. He knows he can go down to the hospital and find what he needs. We all know disease cure just immediately cures whatever it is. You don't need it. You don't need to learn how to make it. If some bloke who died 200 some odd years ago already had it for you. And you sprinkle it on daddy's leg. You want to talk about effective communication? You know what's effective communication? Walking around in a suit of power armor with a minigun. No one is going to mess with you. I can almost guarantee it every single time. That's communication. That says I'm the boss. This child right here understands that, Daddy, I am not an educated man. I'll tell you that right now. But Daddy still knows how to be a leader. And do you know why that comes into effect? Because if you're not as smart as the others, you have to at least talk faster than the others. Make them think it's acting. Actors weren't smart. They never went to school. They just did it. You know why? Because society put everyone in a hole, a nuke-size hole. And the only way to learn was freaking just doing it. My child said it best.
All right. So now, are we doing our rebuttals?
Do your rebuttal.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You want to time me?
I shall time you, child.
2 minutes.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. Little Timmy, in your scenario, Jimmy, Timmy, I don't know fully his name. Doesn't matter. He is getting a different kind of education. It's a different type. It is still education. It is something we call learn by doing. Learn by doing. You're learning it in the field. There is a whole branch. I went to a technical college. I learned by going into the field. What did we call these days where we went into the field? We called them labs. Now, and what people are used to is thinking of someone in a lab coat out doing some science in a laboratory. That is not the only type of lab that you are going to do. You're going to go into the field and you are going to practice in a hands-on way, doing it, getting in the muck of everything. And that is what little Timmy is doing as he goes and he explores. He is learning and understanding. Now, imagine little Timmy going into these buildings, not just alone, but with the help and guidance of an educator, someone who is experienced at scavenging, who can point, oh, why don't you check that freezer over there? Why don't you check this? Oh, little Timmy, you don't know how to read to unlock and hack these computers to get inside of them? That is a skill you will learn when we go back and we have the lecture portion of the class. And we will learn how to do it both. We will both do it in the class when we will practice, and then we will go into the field and we will do it. And we will learn by doing. And that is another type of education that you can have in the wasteland. You can have it all. You can have the book smarts. You can have the technical skill. You can have the tactical skill. All of these can be taught by a teacher because a teacher has your back out there, and it's better than being alone. And that's all I got for that one.
I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
There is a saying, and it goes, those who can do, and those who can't teach. Now, what you said was learning. The act of doing things is learning, a form of learning, yes. But the structure of a school system, why? Why take the children away from the waste that crafts them? Now, all this to say, yes, oh, my goodness, you need to read, to hack, you need to understand how a lock works, to pick it. But you are forgetting one small important detail about the Fallout universe that does not operate by those laws. Luck. Sheer dumb luck. Sometimes you just get lucky. Sometimes you just find bottle caps. Sometimes the door just unlocks itself. Sometimes the robots reprogram themselves. Why do we need education when we just need luck? To this whole debate, and to kind of peek into my closing statement, we do not have to obey these laws that people have set before us when the bombs fell, because that did so well for them, did it not? All this smarts, these reading and education, They made the bombs with that education. Jumbo Jalaya down the street, they ain't gonna make no goddamn bombs. They don't have to worry about her. She might on accident poison someone because she never learned how to cook properly, but she's fine. Because even then, with a strong endurance, you can persevere through poison. Through strength, you can do most things. Through perception, even greater. Special stats do not need education, not even intelligence.
Are we to our closing statements?
We're at our closing statements.
Okay.
We'll say 1 minute closing statement.
All right.
Ready? 3, 2, 1.
I will argue again that everything you have stated as a way of learning is a method of teaching. And there are multiple schools of thought in how the pedagogical approach to education. And going into the field is a form of formalized education, technical knowledge. Doing it yourself is a way of learning, is a formalized way of learning. Look at pre-war America. There is technical schools all over the country, and this is their approach to education. If we're looking in the Fallout universe, we have CIT. That is a technical school. And they use this hands-on approach, which is the most effective form of education. And is it formalized? Absolutely it is. Because without structure, it is a lot more difficult to learn. And you're not guaranteed to be lucky in the wasteland. But you can learn and you can grow.
All right, enough. My turn.
All right, Reggie.
Don't call me Reggie.
Reginald Baxter the fifth. 3, 2, 1.
My opponent here is obviously a role player and really takes everything, seriously when picking her stats. But I tell you this. Does Lord Death of Murder Mountain have a high intelligence score? He does not. But I guarantee you, they've conquered the wasteland without it. That's it.
You used half your time, just so you know. All right, well, that was our first,
That's all I needed.
Debate. I'm excited about it. I thought we got into some good topics.
Who do you agree with? Do you agree with Nikki or Reginald? Reginald, man, he's ruthless.
Hey,
Nikki's smart though. Nikki's smart.
It's all that education.
It's all that education.
Yeah. I will say after this that just on a non role-playing element of it, I think that there are many ways of learning, and whatever way you go about life and whatever way you choose to learn is a valid way of learning. And I think it is important to throw that out there. And beyond the debate.
Yeah, and beyond the debate. And don't forget, just because maybe something like college didn't work out doesn't mean you stop being smart.
Yeah. So I think there is too much pressure put on formalized education as the end all be all. And while that is a fantastic option for a lot of people, myself included, I'm in grad school. It is not the only way to go about your life, and you should not feel any way about not doing that. So I just want to throw that out there.
Chase after what makes you happy. Do
exactly.
It. Boom. Life is literally the longest thing we'll ever experience, so make sure it's enjoyable.
Wow, that is an interesting concept. That was very deep. Literally, I don't know, that made me sad.
I know, that's why when people say life is too short, I'm like, no, it's quite literally the longest thing we will ever experience.
Yes. It's interesting too. I don't know, as I'm getting older, I'm not that old. I'm 29, I'm gonna be 30 in May. And I'm like, wow, I start looking back and I'm like, being a kid was 20 years ago. It's just a wild.
Yeah.
High school was 15 years, my start of high school. It's crazy how fast life just keeps going forward.
And we tackle it every day. All right. Yeah, let's talk about it. So I was telling Nikki, like, this was pretty impromptu, like everything we kind of did here. But I'd been playing The Last of Us Part 1 after watching the show, and I started having this realization that how everything in borderline everything from the game was taken and added to the show. And
Right.
it may not have been like certain moments may not have been, chronologically added, but they were still there.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of posed this question, and I was like, you know, and even Nikki said it was like, what makes it different from just watching the cutscenes?
Right.
And this is where I wanted to say, at what point is an adaptation a good adaptation? And what makes that a better alternative than just expanding upon a video game setting anyway? Like something like Cyberpunk Edge Runners did on Netflix, which was really, really well done.
Does it? I haven't seen it, and now
It
Does it take place in Night City and
it
everything like
it
that?
takes place in Night City. It's a story that is completely separate from
That's really
Cyberpunk
cool. That's really
2077,
cool.
and you could still find things from they added things from the um, Edge Runner show
Mm-hmm.
to the game afterwards.
Ooh, that's very
And
cool. I didn't know
not
they did
only,
that.
yeah, oh yeah, it was super good. You can get his jacket, you can get one of the characters' guns. Like
Oh,
it's
sick.
really, oh, you can get the Sandevistan that is very
Mm-hmm.
important to the character in the show. And you can like speed blitz everyone. It's super cool.
Can I
But
give you a really quick aside on Cyberpunk? This is so random.
yeah, go
This
for it, go
is
for it.
sometimes some of the magic of podcasting is these little things. Night City is based on Morro Bay, California. If you were to look at like a map of the streets, that's what it's based on. The original creators confirmed this. I lived in Morro Bay when
Oh, that's pretty
Cyberpunk
cool.
came out, and I was like, this is so cool. There's basically no landmarks other than the fact that it looks like somewhere in Southern California,
No,
which
it's
all kind
there.
of looks the
I
same.
I thought it was in LA.
It
I'm
is
not even gonna
it's
lie.
this is a tiny harbor town, and you can tell certain areas look a lot like it. What's really cool is they have very minimal Easter eggs to point to what it is.
Mhm.
And there's a station, and it's called Morro Rock. And there is a rock in Morro Bay. It's a giant volcanic plug, and we call it Morro Rock. And that's like one of the very small references to the fact that it does take place in Morro Bay. There's a few other things, but I just it holds a special place in my heart because I've lived in real life
That
Night
is
City,
cool.
which is not it's not even an incorporated city, just so you know. It's just like a town. um that's my aside about that. And I just, those kind of details that aren't very out front, like this is a little town that is not anything like a city. It's tiny.
Mhm.
Less than 10,000 people live there. um but just for the few people who know this detail, those little Easter eggs, I appreciate that in game makers. Just throwing that out there.
Oh,
So
that's pretty
sorry for
cool.
the aside though.
And you know what? It's a happy aside. I'm happy for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think about the um, how Cyberpunk Edge Runners expanded by making its own story in the
Right.
setting that it was, building off of. Which, not to say that Cyberpunk 2077
Right.
is purely its own thing, because even that is an expansion on Cyberpunk 2020, the
Right.
tabletop role playing game.
Right.
But The Last of Us, because this was a story that gamers have experienced before, but people who've never played the game are experiencing for the first time, it almost begs to reason, why not make an expansion on The Last of Us? Call it The Last of Us, still call it The Last of Us, but make a completely different story
Right.
set in the same universe that would cause people to go, well, let me see. Oh, this is based on a video game. Well,
Mm-hmm.
let me take a look at the video game, and then even build up more of that fan base just a little bit.
Do you think that the show should have done that rather than what it had done, the Last of Us show?
And
And I have an
this may
idea
or
on
may
this
not.
as well.
I was like, this may or may not be, because I liked the show. I think it
Right.
did great. I think the acting was spot on. I think a lot of the
Yeah, the
vistas
casting,
done.
everything.
It was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should have maybe done an original story.
I
The
do
more I kept
too,
thinking,
and I think there's good reason to think this too, in that like you had mentioned, you could go on YouTube and right now and basically have watched the show in the cutscenes and the little dialogue of you could go watch the whole game. And I think because it is such a forced narrative game, it almost would have benefited from more expansion or just a new story, like you're saying, because we if you've played the game or if you're, you go and watch it on YouTube, whatever, you can see the entire narrative of the game is just the entire narrative of the show with a couple added things. But whereas like Cyberpunk obviously is a narrative driven game as well, but there's a little bit more decision in that, which I
Mhm.
feel like um not as much for Last of Us. And then if we're even going into Fallout, it is narrative. It's not cutscene driven at all.
Yeah.
Barely any cutscenes in those games.
And
And
which, because I know what the Fallout show isn't going to be taking directly from a game. It will be expanding upon a already existing setting, which
right,
I think can only really benefit it and also help with Fallout 76
right.
or Fallout 4 and any other previous Fallout game.
I think it's interesting too that like Last of Us doing this when there's just I mean, there's like no choice really in Last of Us. You could go into a room and you could stealth it, or you could go into a room and you could just go in guns blazing. And that's kind of your level of choice in Last of Us,
Mhm.
as I understand it.
Yeah,
Um,
it really is. And it, I don't know. I always feel encouraged to kill everything, even quiet or loud. I usually kill everything.
yeah, I feel like that's kind of the only option sometimes too, a
I
little
know.
bit. Um, I mean, like, I'm with you. I think it would have benefited from being its own thing. Or, God, it would probably piss people off. I'm sure. I'm not a fanboy as much as other people are of this
Mhm.
franchise. Could they have
Which
deviated?
I, I
Still
I feel like
follow
the people
Joel and Ellie.
who, yeah, like, and that's, I was kind of thinking that too, because I was like, I know the people who have watched the show but not played the game are definite diehards for it. But I'm like, I want you to imagine if like, if we could get those people who have never played the game, to have played the game first and then watch the show, would those opinions still stand? Because as I'm playing the game, I'm noticing even the small banter, the jokes, like that pun book comes out in the game.
Right.
Those jokes, dead rebuttals from the game. And I'm like, how much could we have made original banter? We
Right.
could have made um, an original plot line where we're kind of like, oh, okay, well, we're watching them go up against infected, which we've harped on it a million times. Not enough infected, but there was so many key moments when I got to this part where Joel, like Ellie had she killed her first person. It wasn't shot in the back, killed him because it was him. It was Joel or the other guy,
Right.
and she killed that guy. And Joel was mad. You shouldn't mess with that gun. And they kind of cut off and go, like, whatever. You could have said thank you. And then finally they get outside and you see a ton of dudes. And Joel looks at her and says, I need your help.
Hmm.
Here's a gun. If you're going to do this, here's a gun. She's like, well, most I've ever shot was a BB gun. He's like, well, this has got a lot more of a kick than a BB gun. And it was a moment of seeing them build that trust. And of course, it was something that could only have been done through video game presentation in that way.
Could it
Um,
though?
which I know
That's kind of the
it
argument that
probably
the
could have been
showrunners were
done.
making too.
It it could have been done in the show. And I think I think they were so focused on the realism aspect of it. And whenever it comes to adapting a game, sometimes you got to throw realism aside. You've got
Right.
to.
Right. Well, and I mean, if we're speaking to like realism in show adaptations, gosh, I hope there isn't realism
And
full
Fallout,
in Fallout, because if someone gets shot and does not ragdoll in a goofy ass way, I'm gonna be a little bit disappointed. You know what I mean? Like I think there's some charm in video game mechanics making their way into the screen. And as much as, oh my God, I have some complaints about the Sonic movie, there is a lot of fun fan service elements in that
I I
movie.
I love Sonic the Hedgehog too. It
Hmm.
was by far. I said this. I don't know if I've said it on the podcast. I like that movie more than I like Spider-Man No Way Home. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Well, I mean, like they had the underwater thing and they had the bubbles and like there
Mhm.
was specific.
Knuckles was dope. Shadow was hinted
Yeah.
at.
I mean, even beyond just like characters being in the game, which like, oh my God, I was excited. I really want Cream. I know she's not going to be in it, but she's one of my favorites. And Cheese, the Chow, or Cheo or whatever they're called. I never know what to call them. Whatever. I liked every time there was a mechanic that was in the game because that was my first video game ever was
Mhm.
Sonic the Hedgehog. It was so much fun for me to see on the screen. Granted, this is a cartoony game, it's a bit different, but still, you gotta, there are elements of source material, which I think are so much fun to see as fans. And Last of Us did have those elements. It had well, I'm gonna give you a lift up and have you get that ladder for me. Not my favorite element of the game. you
Yeah,
know?
and well, okay, so talking about that, of course, fans of the games are going to look like, for some hints of that game being in this live action adaptation,
Right.
which for The Last of Us, their goal wasn't necessarily to cater to the people who've already played the game, I think. I
Yeah.
think it was to attract a different audience, a new audience.
Right.
And though that audience isn't exactly going to be in it to see the mechanic-y stuff,
Yeah.
And I think,
Which I mean, you could make the argument Fallout's going to do the same thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there was none of that in Cyberpunk. The only thing that was there was the lore that was already set up for the Cyberpunk universe. And like, maybe you got a hint, some references to Johnny Silverhand in the show. But like you seen the Arasaka Corporation, you knew that they were oppressive, but we also got to see like another side of it to where, oh yeah, this is where high class society lives. And it was expanding on those concepts. And it was an anime. You didn't see those game mechanics come in. You just
But you saw
seen,
game elements in the form of
yeah,
lore.
you saw game elements in the form of lore. You understand, like, if you have too much Chrome, you succumb to cyberpsychosis, all
Right.
that stuff. And I don't know. I just, after really sitting on it and thinking, it made me it made me go like, as good as The Last of Us is, maybe if they did a separate story, what if the whole series had been about just Bill and Frank?
Right. Like just the period of them living there. I mean,
Like from Bill setting everything up, encountering infected. How did he secure the whole town? Like taking that whole thing. Like, what if they did that? Like its own
right.
separate story, The Last of Us, and still having that ending as well. And
Right.
like maybe they could have
I
added, they
think
could have shown Tess and Joel coming in, interacting, but like, just to get that reference, like
right.
people people would have lost their mind going, that's Joel, that's Joel.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
but
where The Last of Us kind of lost it for me. I honestly think the showrunners were like, we've written this beautiful story. We want to get it out to more people than gamers. And I think if that was the goal they set out for The Last of Us, that's, in the show, I think they have successfully done it. Because if you are, my mom is not going to go sit down and play a shooting zombie video game, whatever, but she did watch the whole show and she liked it and she thought it was intense and enjoyed it. I think where it almost becomes a little bit more difficult, certain elements is like, okay, well, everybody who's seen the first season is going to look at the second season and be like, well, I know exactly what's going to happen. There's no surprise in that. They're clearly following a path. Maybe adaptations of shows work better, like you said, when they're not directly copying something or when the show is less of a narrative driven show. Like,
and I almost want to say
game.
like careful on the whole not exactly copying something, because my God, did the Halo show fail? It failed abysmally because they didn't copy it enough.
Right. And I think there's that nuance that's going to be difficult for these showrunners to find. And you're going to be having to do some fan service. You're also going to have to be something interesting and new that someone's going to want to watch. Like, is someone who's played Last of Us 40 times going to watch the show and be like, okay, this is just the game,
Yeah.
plus some random stuff I'm not interested in. Like, Um,
It can border on redundancy.
right.
It can, especially if you have experienced it multiple times, which I'm sure there's multiple people who have because it was such a good game.
I think a lot of the saving grace too of the show, because I mean there were super valid stuff to complain about. I mean, Pedro Pascal's like star power right now is just
Hmm.
insane. And it does make me nervous. I'm like, is the Fallout show's cast gonna have a similar like energy behind it? And this fan base that's like insane a little bit, like
Which I mean, it. I feel like if done right, I didn't know any of the people in Westworld for the most part.
I'm trying to think if I did. Just Aaron Paul later
Yeah,
season, but
yeah. I know.
one guy from Hunger Games I did
Yeah,
know. That's it.
one of the older characters who who plays the antagonist, I knew from some other stuff, but everyone else not really. And then some of them, I mean, it's an HBO show. Like even take some of the people from oh my god, what was it? It was so big. It was such a big old stinker. Game of
Game of
Thrones. There we
Thrones.
go. Yeah, it was such a yeah. Game of Thrones. If you take Game of Thrones, many of those people weren't widely recognized outside of BBC television.
Yeah, a lot of British actors.
Mm.
Every time I remember that the Fallout show isn't going to be HBO, it makes me sad
So
too.
I know I would just say, and then with the Fallout show, um, I mean it's Prime. I didn't recognize half these actors that are in The Boys until The Boys happened. And
Right.
then now I say like in the Callisto Protocol, they had the girl who plays Kimiko in freaking Callisto Protocol. Oh my god, they got Kimiko. It's like it's one of
Yeah,
those things. When a show's good enough, it builds its own star power.
exactly. I mean, I think the Fallout show does have some star power behind it too. Kyle MacLachlan's a big, very niche, like people love him. So, he
Mm.
was in Twin Peaks and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, I mean, to answer your overarching question, I think if I were to like, I don't know if I'm answering it correctly, but I would like, I hope that adaptations both stay true to the source material, but write their own stories.
Expand upon already existing ideas is what I would definitely say. Like if you're going to adapt it verbatim, have it verbatim, but add something to it. Don't
Right.
take away. Do not take away. When you take away, that's when people start getting upset.
Right. And I think part of what The Last of Us did was add superfluous stories.
Mm-hmm.
As much as we liked the Bill and Frank episode, that was probably the exception, not the rule of
Yeah.
the add-ons in that show, because a lot of the stories I just was like, whatever. And then another big element that they added was the mycelium root
Yeah.
structure that was never touched on
Never
again.
paid off. Never paid off.
Yeah. So that was a weird ad for me. And it just felt not fleshed out in certain
And
regards.
and I can say while playing, the Last of Us again, I like what they did with Bill and Frank's relationship because they freaking hated each other by the end of it in
Right.
The Last of Us. Frank was like, I'm tired of you, Bill. You never want to go anywhere. You're so afraid.
You're right.
And
It's kind of like an FU.
yeah, it was an FU. Like I freaking hate you. And I was like, and I'll be real with you, getting to that point after watching the show, I was like, man, this is almost like slandering the beautiful relationship that I witnessed, And I was like, that's not my Bill and Frank. And which is a
Yeah.
good thing for the show to have done to make me go, I like that Bill and Frank more than this Bill and Frank. And
Right.
it's capable to have done that. And
Oh, and in replaying that town was so full of infected.
oh
Right?
yeah. Oh yeah. No, that whole place was not secured. I think one
No.
building might have been secured. And that was it.
I mean, it's to the point where the one character, I can't remember, they have such generic like names. I can't remember who's who, but the one character had hung himself and the other character
Frank.
didn't even know.
Frank.
That's
Frank.
Yeah.
He's like, that's what happened to him. He's trying to leave me, and he already got the goddamn battery in the truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if you want to like talk about at all where season 2 is going to go. I think a lot of people are scared that it is going to follow the game for season 2. I don't know fully what happens in the second
Which
game,
I
but
can honestly, I'd leave that up to a debate for future us later on,
that's true.
or discussion future on.
I know once
It's
I've
just,
played
I
that.
think, I think the something we should consider going forward, not even just between us, but us as a gaming community as a whole, who do want more people to come experience some of these things, is taking The Last of Us the way it was done a good enough way to bring more people into experiencing the game for the first time and seeing how good it really, really is, or is doing something like Cyberpunk's Edge Runners did,
Hmm.
more effective of a way to, and then experiencing that story for the first time,
Right.
more effective.
Gosh, I don't know. For me, as somebody who started with the show, obviously, and then didn't start playing until midway through, I can't speak to the cyberpunk element of it, but um, I was like, dang, this game is hard. I'm playing on normal mode or easy mode, and I was like, this is not as hard as the show made it seem like it
Oh
was
my
gonna be.
gosh. Hmm.
Yeah, so I was like, wow, there are honestly, for me, having started, I prefer the show to the game at this point, just because I was like, this is so many infected, and I want, the show does not indicate that it's going to be that hard. Obviously, we've covered this in it to the extreme, but um, I think the show drove my heart rate up a lot less than the game does. Even though there are stressful moments, but um,
I don't I don't know if I want verbatim adaptations as much as I want
no,
expansions
yeah,
on already existing settings, you know?
yeah. I mean, if they're going to do verbatim, I'm glad it's in a game without choice, because verbatim in a game with choice kind of feels like it's taking away from the game itself on some
Yeah.
level. You know what I mean?
And I'll take a second to do a dishonorable mention here. Dragon's Dogma on Netflix did an awful job of capturing the beauty that is Dragon's Dogma. I'm going to say that right now. And it had nothing. It was not even an adaptation of the original storyline. I don't know what that was. It was its own original story, and it freaking sucked. I don't know how they botched it that bad. Anyway, I don't know. It's so hit or miss.
It really
It's
is, and it's hard. And I think a lot of it too is like, is your fandom gonna be chill if you F this up real bad? Because I know a few fandoms that are not gonna be chill about
Halo
it.
was not chill.
Yeah.
Halo was not chill. I think I think if they had messed up The Last of Us, it would not have been chill either. It
Yeah.
would not have. And I think the safest thing they could have probably done was to do it verbatim. I think
That's true.
verbatim is
That's true.
the safe option.
But
And
again,
I
it's in a game that lacks choice, and I think that is why they were able to get away with it to some extent. And
yeah.
it remains to be seen what's coming down the pike. But these are games with choices that Fallout is a game with choice that is coming down the
Which
pike. So
and then here we go. Cyberpunk is a game that lacks choice.
yeah,
I don't care what
kind of.
anyone says. It like you
You
can
could
make your
choose your
character
path,
and
but
choose your beginning, but the destination all ends up the same.
yeah. So
It's and that I'm just sitting there. I'm like, they made their own thing, and it was really really good.
yeah.
So
I want
I don't
a
know.
cyberpunk story of just Jackie's backstory. I just want to follow him around.
Yeah, Jackie's
He's my
fantastic.
favorite character.
Choom.
He's that opening sequence of cyberpunk where he is dancing is so fun. I love him
Would
so
you
much.
would you ever? I will cosplay as Jackie if you cosplay as V at some point.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll be the
Oh,
Jackie to your V.
okay. So I feel like we're good on that segment. I'm going to have a really impromptu segment right here.
All right.
Character customization in games. I really liked Cyberpunk because I felt like for once I got a hair that was closer to my hair in that game. And I was really excited about that. And just like the level of detail you could get into with the mods and everything like that. Do you have a favorite game for character customization?
For character customization, man, that's actually a really hard choice because man, a lot of people don't seem to get how big of a deal it is to get black hairstyles in a game.
Hmm.
People go, I don't get it. I don't get it. It's because you already have yours there. You're
Right.
balding. Pick that one. All right. I don't. I'm not balding. I
Right.
got nap. I have tight whatever C do hair.
Yeah.
Okay. I need it. I would love to have that. Um
Well, like
Cyberpunk
curls
did a
in
good job.
general don't exist in games. Like all the spectrum of curls just are like absent. It's
And
wild.
I'll say
And
from the
coils.
little bit of customization that I've seen in Starfield, that does look pretty good. It looks pretty
That's cool.
promising. They actually
Yeah.
have they actually have some black hairstyles in there. I'm pretty excited about.
Hmm.
I probably get to make myself pretty accurately there.
That's
Um,
exciting.
but I would say the most unique and the most fun I've had with making a character, Saints Row, hands down.
Okay.
Hands down, it is Saints Row 2 specifically because you could change your character's walk in like 5 different ways, their
Oh,
fight
that's cool.
style. Yeah, like if you wanted them to have a real professional fight style, you could do it, or crazy fight style. So many different options, your taunting options, your character's voice. You could
Hmm.
you could be really, really big or really, really skinny. And it's just it was a
Yeah.
good game design and for
I
characters
think I just
customization.
really want more. Like when I was watching the video of you and I like pretending like we were doing character customization in Fallout 4, I was like, this literally, we could not make characters that look like us. You know what I mean? Like, especially hair, obviously I have looser hair texture, but like even my like, I don't know, Italian Jewish type curls don't exist in video game. They're not happening right now, but they don't exist in video games as it is. But um when you see a game that's like, oh my God, I can actually make them look like me, it's exciting to do. And I hope that
Mm.
games continue doing this down the road. And I felt like Cyberpunk was closer than I'd ever, I mean, of games I've played that I had seen. And I liked that you could change your voice and all of that. I mean, you could change your
Uh,
junk, which
yeah,
is
I know. Yeah, boy. No, another honorable mention. I did. Reginald didn't talk about this, but Wild Hearts character customization is actually
okay.
really, really good.
Hmm. I'm just, I'm hopeful because it seems like games are finally trying to do more than like the like one coily style hair, and that's like the only option. The one, it'll be like one haircut and that's it. Yeah, like
If
there's a
you want us to come in and model any game devs,
hmm.
if you want to get a 3D scan of our hair textures and our hairstyles, hit us
Yeah,
up.
I had braids in today, so this is not my actual hair, but
My hair is like this, and then sometimes it's like this.
yeah. And I don't know, I just thought that was cool, and I hope they do it because 60% of the world has curly and coily hair, and it is not represented in video games at all. So
So
I think
cap it
that's,
off.
yeah,
Yeah, guys, that has been the Capcast. Man, I don't know. We did a lot of segments today.
we did.
This is different, and somehow we still talked about The Last of Us. How crazy is that? But hey, no spoilers this time.
But we're talking about gaming culture,
Yeah,
right? I just want to
yeah.
make sure.
Gaming culture. Yeah, gaming culture is it. There's a vastness that goes into gaming culture.
Right.
From books, from the actual games to books to board games to comic books. Hell, even the Doom soundtrack, man. Like
Hmm.
that in itself, it's a gaming soundtrack and it's phenomenal. Mick Gordon, heck yeah, dude. And it's just like it's. I think it's nice to explore some of those areas,
Right.
and I'm excited to start this gaming culture journey. So expect some actual
I'm
like.
excited too.
Me and Nikki are gonna play Diablo 4 together.
Hmm.
We're gonna look into that. We're gonna be what we
Dead
have a whole
Island,
Dead Island. We're gonna be
Breath of the
playing that
Wild, way
together.
down the road. This
Yeah,
the
down
new
the we
May.
will. May will also be playing Redfall. It's happening.
Hmm.
So yeah, we have a lot.
I think that has been the Capcast.
Yeah.
So remember, kids, don't feed the
Take your
Yagwai.
coughing pills. Don't feed the Yagwai.
Don't feed the
That
Yagwai, and that is
that is
all.
all.
We'll never get it.